So let's talk about how sometimes governors let legislators off gently in their veto messages. As I worked through the dozens of gubernatorial vetoes during the recently concluded 2022 California legislative session, I noticed that Governor Gavin Newsom generally treated legislators pretty gently when he ended up vetoing their bills. After the standard statement of I am returning SB blank or AB blank without my signature, and of course, then the following paragraph is a brief explanation of the bill's provisions. Governor Newsom usually made a positive statement or two, often even complimenting the legislator on his or her bill or the efforts in general, and then provided an explanation or rationale for why he was going to veto the bill. So I tried and compile a few examples of the governor's introductory positive statements that he used in quite a few veto messages to California legislators during the 2022 legislative session. For example, I share the author's goal of ensuring that patients are able to receive the behavioral health care they need when they need it. Another example, while the author's intent is laudable, and then went on to explain why he vetoed it. Another example, I recognize the economic benefits off-highway vehicle competitions bring to rural communities, but he also said, I share the author's commitment to supporting a strong pipeline of trained behavioral health professionals, but this program is duplicative of California's recent efforts in this area. Another example, I share the author's commitment to school greening projects, and my administration is proud that the 2022-23 budget included, and then he went on to explain that. He said in another bill, while I appreciate the author's goal to assess the needs of underserved rural communities, this work is already underway. Another example, although I appreciate the author's goal of supporting critical safety net care provided by this important hospital in his district, the bill imposes a reimbursement structure that conflicts with federal regulations. Another example, while I appreciate the author's attempts to enact consumer protections for older adults and their loved ones, I am concerned this bill may serve to reduce consumer options. Another example, I support the author's goal of improving informed consent requirements and protecting long-term care residents, but then he went on to explain what the problem was. He says in another, I wholeheartedly share the author's desire to tackle this crisis, but this bill is duplicative of efforts already underway. Another example, I commend the author for responding to her district's facility-specific needs. Another example, I appreciate the author's dedication in supporting children diagnosed with ASD and their families. While the bill's intent is laudable, and then went on to explain why he had to veto it. Another example, I agree with the author's goal of increasing access to assistive technology for people with disabilities and older adults. So all of these positive statements are often included. Of course, the end result is still the same, that the bill was vetoed and will not become law this particular year. But nonetheless, it's interesting how the governor really went out of his way this year to applaud the work of legislators or explain how his administration was already tackling it.